Hey guys, I am here with senior producer Jeremy Ray. We're checking out Sports Champions 2. I wanted to rope him in here. Obviously, there was a brief mention at the press conference last night. I wanted to get a little bit more in-depth about the new events and new modes in Sports Champions 2. A big seller, the original one on PlayStation Move, of course. What made you guys want to tackle a Sports Champions 2, and what was the philosophy behind that?
Great question. For us, Sports Champions 1 was a huge success, so we were really excited when we got the opportunity to do another game. We're proud to bring some new events to this game. So we've got boxing, we've got skiing, we've got tennis, we've got golf. We're bringing back archery with all new levels and all new modes. And which one am I forgetting? Golf, maybe? Tennis, skiing, some one of those.
A lot of modes here, a lot of new activities. Now, I want to touch base on archery first, because that was my favorite mode from the original Sports Champions. What are you doing now in this sort of, what was the philosophy? It was like an evolution of the archery mode. How's it improved now?
Great question. So for archery, if you got really good at the gameplay mechanic, the first one, you're going to be able to carry all those skills over to the second one, which is great. However, all the levels and all the modes are brand new. So all the targeted shooting, what you're trying to do within the level, it's all different. So when you get used to being able to aim really well and grab that arrow and shoot, you're going to be able to take those skills ahead, but now you've got all new experiences using the same gameplay mechanic.
Awesome. I'm also curious about this boxing game. Obviously with the debut trailer coming out just a week or so ago, that was one that grabbed my attention. And we've seen some other attempts at these boxing games with motion controllers, like the Fight Lights Out, of course. What are you bringing to boxing, though, in Sports Champions 2?
Boxing is one of my favorite events to play in sporadic times because it can really drain you. So it's a whole lot of fun. Some people really, really like the action. You get a good sweat going. You're going to be throwing punches just like you would in a real boxing match. You've got jabs, you've got uppercuts, you've got hooks. Everything you can do in real life with your offhand, primary hand, it's all going to come through in the game just like you would in a real boxing match. It's a great experience.
That's awesome. And what about skiing? That was probably the biggest surprise for me. Not one that jumps to mind with a motion control setting, I'll say.
Right.
How did you guys pull that off?
We always want to round out the offering in Sports Champions. So you've got something really aggressive, like talked about with boxing. Skiing is kind of the opposite of that. It's a little bit more laid back in terms of the physicality. You're not constantly in a sweat, but it's more about intricate movements and making sure you get that turn just right. And so it helps balance out the offering. So you're not always dripping with sweat, and maybe you can relax a little bit more with skiing and then go back to boxing when you've got your energy back up again.
Awesome. And what's your favorite mode out of Sports Champions 2 so far? Just what's one that grabs you?
That's always a hard question for me. It's like, what's your favorite child? Kind of changes depending on the time of day. I think right now I will go with skiing. Skiing's my favorite today. You ask me tomorrow, I might give you a different answer. But I like skiing because you get the real sense of speed when you're going down the mountain. You see those trees flying by. You get big old airs. You can do flips. You get that big speed boost. You're drafting behind the opponents. You get that real sense you're going really fast, and you really feel connected. And if you skied in real life, it's the closest thing you can get to real skiing in a video game. It's
awesome. That's cool. Another thing I wanted to touch on, I thought this was a very interesting point, and one I think that will be very well received. The move calibration, the 3-point sort of touch your shoulder, touch your belt, now not required.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that and how you guys were able to pull that off.
So as you mentioned, there's no 3-point calibration is no longer required for Sports Champions 2. What that allows us to do is be able to, if you're playing the game and you want to just hand the control over to your friend and try it, that was something that was kind of difficult to do in the first one. You had to recalibrate to get the proper experience. We want to make sure we lower that barrier to entry and the friction in the gameplay as much as possible. By having a default calibration, have a calibration that works for everybody, then you can just hand the controller off and just run with the game really quick. It allows for someone that's really experienced and hardcore to enjoy the game. Also, maybe your girlfriend or someone that's not necessarily in a game as much, you can hand them the controller and they can play right away, and they don't have to pay attention and make sure they've got the exact calibration all right like we did in the first one.
So another thing I know that you guys put a lot of effort into with Sports Champions 2 here is this new profile system.
Yep.
It makes it a lot more fun to play like kind of couch co-op.
Yep.
What are all the new features that we can do here in this new co-op and profile system?
Right, so great question. So we added a party play mode to the Sports Champions 2, and this mode is a mode dedicated for local multiplayer. What allows us to do is you can set your own playlist up, so you can have one round of skiing, one round of boxing, one round of tennis. You kind of back them up, and you can customize it however you want. You get a score for each one of those rounds. You get an overall party score, and you can do fun things along the way. Like you'll take your picture while you play. I take my picture. If you beat me in a round, you can draw a funny mustache on me or dunce cap. Kind of call it the humiliation screen right now. It's kind of fun. You can do things like that. It's really meant to be like a fun party mode atmosphere for friends and family. It's a great mode.
Awesome. What else? I mean, of course, Sports Champions 1 supported 2 motion controllers, 2 PlayStation moves. What are the different ways that you use that here in Sports Champions 2? I mean, dual motion controllers, I assume not required, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so like what are some of the ways that you'd use that? Obviously, archery was a standout in the first game. Right. How are you leveraging that here for Sports Champions 2?
So just like Sports Champions 1, all the games are fully playable and they're designed to be fun with one motion controller. However, due to the kinds of games, like for certain kind of games like boxing, there's obviously having 2 controllers is closer to the real thing. So I think it's an enhanced experience. It's a better experience in boxing when you have 2 controllers, and so you can throw this left and rights like you would in real life. If you're using 1 controller in boxing, for example, we do some things like where you press the buttons that'll have your punches for offhands. You can do jabs, you can do hooks with buttons, and then with your right hand, if you're right-handed like me, you can throw the punch like you would. So. That's how that works.
Oh, that's awesome. One more thing I wanted to touch upon. You were saying that Sports Champions 2, not a replacement for Sports Champions 1. Elaborate on that. I thought that was a very interesting point.
Right, so I've seen this mentioned a couple times. Sports Champions 2 is not meant to replace the first one, like you said. It's, if you like a big fan of disc golf, for example, Sports Champions is there. It's always going to be there. I still love playing disc golf and bocce. Whenever I get a chance to play on the first one, this isn't meant to replace that. The second one's supposed to add new events and new sports to the game. So. If you want to play boxing, you want to play skiing, you want to play tennis, you bust out Sports Champions 2. If you want to go back to disc golf, bocce, or gladiator duel, you'll bust out the first one.
That's great. I think we're going to check out a little bit of gameplay footage now. Awesome. I wanted to ask you some more about some of the new events. Like, what other new events? We talked about skiing, we talked about boxing. What else is there to look forward to? The new archery experience, of course, but that's not all.
Right.
What else?
So we also have tennis, and tennis is great because for those that are familiar with tennis, all your swings are just like in real life. You can put real topspin on by the the proper angle of your swing, and everything you learn on the real tennis court is going to transfer over to the game. So you can do that with the tennis. Same with golf. Golf is the closest thing you can get to, again, like I mentioned with skiing earlier. Golf is the closest thing you can get to playing golf in real life in a video game. Everything you do about that golf club is going to be taken into account in the game. The angle of the way you hold the club, how you swing, the angle of the swing, how hard you swing, all that gets taken into account in how you hit the ball in a way that is just not reproducible on any other game.
Now, I mean, one question I've got about, you've got all these modes, you've got all these different events and all these different sports. How do you guys sit down and winnow down the list of every possible sport? I mean, there's got to be a ton, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of yelling and screaming trying to figure this out. The list we start off with is enormous. Every sport you've ever heard of and a million you've never heard of, we go and look at sports that are just based on one particular region on some crazy island with a population of 1,000 people. Everything to baseball, soccer, every possible game you can imagine that exists. We take a look at and we determine, okay, what's going to be the best possible event? What can we show with the Move controller and provide the best possible experience to our audience?
And obviously we're seeing some of the gameplay. Yep. Here's the skiing.
Got a big jump right here.
Good stuff. What are some of the events that almost made the cut but not quite? I'd love to know. Just ones that you were in the final round and you didn't quite work out.
Let's see. I don't want to get someone's hopes up that maybe we'll be excited about it. We tried basketball. That didn't quite make the cut. We've tried curling. That didn't quite make the cut.
Curling with the Move controller.
We've actually tried a whole bunch. I don't want to get into too many.
Yeah, I got it. Another one here is bowling, and that's one that's seen a lot of motion control play over the years, just in a variety of realms. What did you guys bring to bowling? I mean, what's the philosophy behind making the perfect motion control bowling game?
Right, so for us, our primary concern when we're making a Sports Champions game is to make sure we provide the best motion control available on any platform in any game. So we make sure that, if we're going to do a game like bowling, which yes, there are other versions, we want to make sure that when you bowl that ball, it's going to take into account that bowling form better than any other game by far. So if you really know your bowling stuff and you bowl, you're going to really feel the difference about how that feels when you throw the ball.
Fantastic. What else jumps out at you about the game? I mean, what are you personally really excited to do with this game?
The party play is really exciting for me. It's something that we really wanted to do in the first one, and we know a lot of people played this game in dorm rooms with friends and family, and we're really happy now that we can provide that party experience that we really wanted to in the first one, be able to set up that party, customize it how you want, and really prove who's the party champion within the game. We heard stories about people using whiteboards and and having keeping the score outside of the game, but be able to have the game take into account and do that all for you is something we're really happy about.
And one more thing I want to touch on here, we're almost out of time, but I want to touch on the fact Sports Champions, I mean, perhaps the best-selling Move game of all, right? I mean, a very big hit.
Yes, very big.
What are you excited to see people play in this game? I mean, what's the event that you've seen guys get really excited about when they're playing a Sport Champion 2?
Boxing's always fun.
That gets the blood rushing? Yeah.
Some people get really, really excited. Sometimes I worry that they're going to hit something, so I always have to be careful. But yeah, boxing will get the blood boiling for everyone.
Use those wrist straps on PlayStation
yes,
Move. So we're about out of time, but coming up next, we're going to be showing PlayStation All-Stars and a lot more, a jam-packed 3 days of live game demos coming your way.